Well, what are my musical interests over the years that got me to where I am today? Well, I have to say that my early experiences were from my parents playing rock and roll 50s music, and it was kind of like an influence. And also, 60s music was an influence on me as well. And that was a really interesting time. And then from the 70s, it changed quite a bit. So we started off with the boring, drab kind of like sounds as well, but also with Motown and the early soul. And then you had glam rock, you had the Ted revival, and you also had like the jam that came into it, but they came into my life a bit later, and then a bit of disco, ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, and all those sort of sounds. But I was also influenced by the classical sounds as well, and that had a big influence on my life as well, listening to all that kind of music. After disco, there was a great influence on which was the ska music, and that was the ska revival, and that had a big influence on my life. And then I went through a mod revival in 1981 as well, because that was the when the ska started to change to oi, or the skinhead movement changed to oi. I decided to go down a different route, and I went down the mod route, so I could still listen to traditional ska. And then from there we went on to like there was 80s disco, and then we had like hip hop, which was a great influence, and the early rap sounds as well. That was a good influence on my life, which I really enjoyed. I remember doing a rap with my friend on holiday, the holiday rap. We went there to Ibiza in the early days before it became like what it is today. In those days, it was free to go into the clubs. And my sister went there in the earlier days, and my brother went there during the peak period as well. So he ended up paying a lot of money for, for going to the clubs that I went to for free. And it was great listening to the house and hip hop and all that kind of stuff. Then I went to New York as well and listened to the New York sounds, which was a great influence on my life. And then from the late 80s and early 90s, there seemed to be a doldrum in the music sense because I think what happened was the scene changed and people got fed up with either the music or listened to the singles or something like that. But something happened in the late 80s and early 90s. So in the 1990s, we had a change of music, but the style of all this kind of music was still changing all the time. So we had jungle, we had early house, we had acid jazz, which acid jazz started off in the 80s really. But Eddie Pillar was behind all that, and we used to know Eddie Pillar quite a bit. And then from there, it just sprouted out into the kind of music that we have now. So the you had the early noughties, which was a really good time. Garage came back again. Psychedelia came back in the 80s and 90s, and all these were a big influence on what I was listening to. And I really enjoyed it. And electro as well was something that I used to do in the clubs and stuff, and I enjoyed doing that as well. And then it started to change in again from the so we had more house and all these other different versions. So it was kind of like EDM and all this kind of stuff, which all had an influence on my life, and it was really really good. And I think my music is kind of like a mixture of all these kind of things thrown together to give you an idea of what I like to kind of listen to, what I like to dance to when I can, and all the sort of things that are really important to me. And I try to get this influence out in music. I also like to try and keep up with the latest kind of music that there is. So, like modern disco is the in thing for the 2020s, and I'm trying to keep up to date with that. But I've also got ideas of like a mixture of music, ska and orchestral music, northern soul and either house or maybe disco or something like that, kind of mixed up together. But also have an idea of classical music, getting involved with pop and EDM and all that kind of stuff. So these are the sort of kind of things I'm looking for to get kind of sound going, which I think would be good. A good dance number, good numbers you can drive to or just enjoy while you're doing the work or housework or something like that. But these trying to think about and try to think how can I get something new and fresh into the scene. So I hope you enjoy the kind of music I listen to and the kind of music that I kind of play. So there's some of the background of the music that I've enjoyed over the years, and I hope it's given you a bit of insight into the kind of person that I am and what's made me who I am today. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.